This is Rembrandt's last painting and one of his best, and there's some questions about one of the figures here, whether it's Mary or Anna, and if Rembrandt actually painted her. First, you need to understand the story. This was a commissioned painting based on the biblical motif Simon in the temple, or Simon's Song of Praise. The story goes that Simon was visited by the angel Gabriel, who told Simon that he would not die until he saw the Messiah. Mary, together with her husband Joseph, took Jesus to the temple as was ritual. Simon was at the temple and he took Jesus into his arms. Then he proclaimed that Jesus is the Messiah and everything should be good in Israel. He asked God if he would be allowed to die. After Simon has already proclaimed that Jesus is the Messiah, Anna comes in. She came and began to speak about the child to all who were looking for the redemption of Jerusalem. The most important thing is that Simon has witnessed the Messiah and now he's ready to die. The first thing to notice that really makes this painting stand out compared to the other depictions of the same motif. There's only 3 figures here, while many of the other painters included a lot of background characters. There's no temple, and actually there's no setting at all. So we have an up-close and personal relationship with Simon. It's clear that Rembrandt really cared about Simon and this story resonated with him. If we compare this with any of the other paintings, then this is far more intimate. Rembrandt has made it very archetypal, so you don't need to know the exact story in order to be gripped by this painting. It could easily just be a mother showing her child to her grandfather. The point is that it doesn't feel very symbolist like those other paintings, like it's just an object of worship. So obviously we know this is Simon and Jesus, but who is the woman in the background? First, I want to address the more controversial question here, which is who actually painted her? Some people suggest that she was actually added in later by another painter. I have some insight about classical painting and about this painting that you probably would have never considered. After analyzing this a bit, I've been impressed because she's actually much more important than I had originally thought. The first very structural part is that she helps to balance out Simon. So without her, there would be a void. She mirrors Simon to a large degree. Something even more important is that she helps to direct our eyes. The first thing you'll see when you look at this painting is Simon. That's because he is the focus of the painting and he has the most contrast. He has the lightest light and the darkest dark. The other figures have less contrast, so we're immediately drawn to Simon just based on the light. Then your eyes will naturally move to the woman behind Simon because her face is very close and because we can see her eyes. You can't really avoid this because it's a very natural attraction to look at people's eyes. And then you want to see what she is looking at. So you'll follow her eyes down to Jesus. And then we want to see what Jesus is looking at. So we follow that back up to Simon, who's the focus of the painting. Then you can relax and you can allow your eyes to focus on Simon because you've studied the other figures around, you've looked around, and you found that the natural resting point is on Simon. Putting her there gives even more importance to Simon because Simon is the focus and he stands out above both of the other figures. By giving him that focus, he becomes much more valuable to us and we feel much closer to him. Her eyes give us crucial directional movement, and if you look at the foundation, the actual structure of the composition, then you'll find that this was very intentional. Rembrandt often used the golden armature compositional strategy, and you can find it in many of his works. Not to mention that he was inspired by many painters who used the same strategy. Many of his peers used the same strategy, and it was commonly used before, during, and after his time. If you want to learn more about that compositional strategy, then check out my Patreon, linked in the description. The really simple thing is that that structure is used to create a nice, solid, circular movement, and to ensure that you have a solid structure. The crucial points here fit within that structure. That demonstrates that either there's some forethought on Rembrandt's part and that he wanted this composition to be very structurally sound, or that Rembrandt made a big mistake, left this huge void, which just so happened to be perfectly filled in by another painter who came along and painted on top of it. What would that require? They understood what the composition needed, so they added in another character to perfectly match the style, the contrast, the atmosphere, and on top of that, it really improved the composition. All of these skills which Rembrandt had already used on these other characters took him over 40 years to develop. What are the chances that another painter came along, commissioned or on their own behalf, and added in this figure and was able to actually execute it so well? I just don't see how it's possible that anybody other than Rembrandt could have actually painted that woman. But there's also a question about whether it's the Virgin Mary or the prophetess Anna. I'll just tell you a little bit about each of these characters. That way you can kind of make up your mind for yourself. The first woman who this could possibly be is the Virgin Mary. She's young. She's not actually described as physically beautiful, but she's very virtuous and faithful. So she's often depicted as being beautiful in appearance. The other woman who this could possibly be is the prophetess Anna, described in the Bible as being an older woman or an old woman. She was about 84 years old. Rembrandt has actually painted her multiple times. There's even another painting by Rembrandt of this exact same motif where both Mary and Anna are present. Mary looks much more soft and youthful. Anna is in the background and she is much older. It's quite clear that he envisioned her as an old woman. That right there should dispel any doubts you have that this woman in the painting is actually the Virgin Mary. But if that wasn't enough, then the case for Anna gets even worse. Again, I have to offer you the logical perspective of a painter. When it comes to deciding who should be in a painting, then you need to consider what their importance is and their logical relevance to the actual story. Mary is the mother of Jesus, and she's the one who hands over Jesus to Simon. Therefore, Mary takes a more important role for the coherence of the story. Mary's husband, Joseph, doesn't really do anything, so he's quite insignificant and we don't really have to worry about him. But Anna actually does do something. After Simon has already proclaimed that Jesus is the Messiah, then Anna comes in. At that moment, she came and began to speak about the child to all who were looking for the redemption of Jerusalem. The woman in this painting is clearly not an old lady, and she definitely doesn't look like she's about to deliver a speech. I don't know who started these rumors, but it's Mary, and she was painted by Rembrandt. So thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.